Been a serial entrepreneur for a while. Like we work with companies in Fortune 500.
Between SEO and geo, there's a couple of differences in your mind. How does our brain work from like good content and how do we engage with LLMs?
When you have all the pieces in place and you can pull the data from different places and you can match all these puzzles together, the whole research, then writing content is easy.
Right. Welcome to the Sure podcast. I am joined with Tom Winter. How are you today, brother?
Very good. Thank you for the invite, and I'm happy to be here and share some knowledge from my side.
Yeah, awesome. I've been looking forward to this. I mean, you are an expert in AI content, what AI is consuming, what it likes, what's good content versus bad content, particularly when it comes to AI. So before we dive in, I love on your LinkedIn, you say you are you have a developer brain, but a marketer's heart. Could you tell us a little bit about that and your background?
So yes, like I've been a serial entrepreneur for a while. So I've been in SaaS business for over a decade. I'm one of the dinosaurs there. And the first startup that I've created with a couple of my friends, they were really amazing developers. I'm like a shitty developer. But like the one thing that I really understand is marketing and sales. So connecting these things, and the brain of a developer helps me to amplify on that. So we were creating a tool to test developer skills. Right now, the tool's name is Skill Panel, and it maps out the skills in the whole organization. We work with companies in Fortune 500, but like the
Mm,
brains of a marketer and the application of programming was something that helped me to automate things. And now, like when we have AI, it helps me to do so many more things. But my brain had to switch a lot because developing things with AI is a lot different than what I was used to 3 years ago. We had to like make the whole switch. And this is like a really difficult one. I can tell you
yeah.
more about it later on, but yeah.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think we'll get into that in terms of like, hey, how does our brain work from like good content and how do we engage with LLMs? So, but first, tell me what was you're a founder of SEO Win. Like, what was the big problem in the market that you saw that you decided to start that company?
So I was a marketer at ScalePlanet that I told you about. Like we were bringing a lot of organic traffic and we were focused on organic traffic a lot. The one thing that I really hated is creating briefs because SEO Wint, what it does, it started with creating briefs. Every single time that I created a brief, like it took me an hour to 2 hours. And every time that I wanted to make the process easier, I cut on quality, not only time, but always on quality. And I hated that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that. And I knew that the brief is the foundation of the article. If I don't do a proper brief, if I don't do the proper research, if I don't find all the things that I want to later on write the article or send it to a content writer, I will lose a lot of quality. So the first thing that we did was creating briefs. And this was the era of like ChatGPT just launching. So we
Mm-hmm.
were actually using GPT-2 and ChatGPT is GPT. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just launching. And we thought like, okay, now we have the briefs. But since AI is quite similar to how humans work, if we feed it with enough data, we're able to create content. So we progressed like from briefs to creating content. And at the moment, to be honest, I would say we're a research engine. And the end product, which is the article, is cherry on the top. This is the easy part. When you have all the pieces in place and you can pull the data from different places and you can match all these puzzles together, the whole research, then writing content is easy.
Well, yeah, let's unpack that a little bit because you hit a lot of points there. One, the first thing you said is ChatGPT and the other LLMs, they read a lot like humans, NLP, natural language processing,
Yes.
right? And so, what are the similarities in your mind in terms of, hey, the content that is scouring, particularly as it relates to organic search, like what is it looking for in terms of, I mean, it's made the job as us in search a lot different. I mean, the behaviors
Mhm.
change completely from keywords to conversations or now intent driven search. What is in your mind the biggest shift in AI in that NLP space?
So you have to look at it from two angles. Like one is the search angle, which we can talk about, like so how to be visible in the search. But the other angle is like how to create content, like from my perspective, how to create content with LLMs, like how to write code with LLMs, because it's quite similar. Like I use any kind of an LLM as a logical engine, not a search engine. And this is like crucial when you have to understand like how do they work. And this is how you're using your own brain. if you write content, what you do, you you do the whole research, you pull the data, you pull the puzzles, and you use your brain to logically connect it together. But you don't write from
Mhm.
top of your head. Because even
Mm,
if it's your niche, like let's go with SEO, like I feel I'm an expert in SEO. What I would still do, I would go and do the research because there's some new data, new things. Like, for example, Google decided to remove num 100.
yes.
It's one of the things that happen in SEO world. It's technical, very technical, but like you have to understand like what are the consequences. If I don't read about it, I will not know about it because it just happened 2 weeks ago. So you connect all these puzzles and you write something. And I use LLMs just the same. I try to figure out what I need where, put it to AI, telling it, look, AI, not only do I create it like a brief, but for this heading, I have my own opinions. I found in search results this and this. I have a case study that says this and this, and you can use it here to prove my hypothesis. I found additional data here. I have like some statistics that we need to put here, and so on and so forth. And then I iterate again, like we do as humans. We don't write on like stop. Like basically, when we write content, we divide it into pieces. So we
Mm,
write a draft, we iterate on draft, we add internal links, we add additional statistics, we proofread it again, and so on and so forth. Like this is a process that has multiple stops, and we expect from AI, like do it like that, and that doesn't work.
mm,
So basically, this is my approach how to use, how to think about LLMs. Okay, and going back to search. So search is a different topic because we are starting to use LLMs as a search engine. To be honest,
mm,
ChatGPT, the initial version, wasn't such a search engine. And right now they see that they can actually go against Google and fight with Google and be a search engine, but with one huge difference. Because when you went to Google, what Google answered, they gave you 10 results that you can choose from. So like it
right.
was, you were choosing. Right now with LLMs, they have to answer your question as they would be an expert, and there is only one answer. Of course, they can say like,
Mm,
if you do this, then like it goes this way. If you do that, then it goes that way, and so on. They will explain you more. But it's like talking to a person, and it doesn't give you choice that we're used to
mm,
earlier. And they're getting better and better. Of course, they're hallucinating all over the place.
yes.
They're scraping a lot of data from Google, which is also like proven in many researches.
Mhm,
And but the whole search changes from both sides. From the search engine perspective, it's kind of a discussion like human to human. So we don't type in keywords anymore, but like we rather ask direct questions, explain things, and so on. And from their perspective, they also use the data and pull the data a little bit differently. I believe that they're using RAG, so Retrieval-Augmented Generation, to be able to
mm.
parse the data. And when they're answering a question, they first try to pull the information, let's say from your website, to get the context. And then based on the context that they pulled, try to figure out what is the answer. Of course, the
So
internet
that's
is the
interesting. So
context.
we Yeah, I just want to double click on that. So what you're saying, this rags, like that's somewhat new to me and probably a lot of people because this is supposed to be a technical talk, basically what we're getting into. But well, like what we're encouraging always from the SEO end is that everywhere on your website, to every section of your website should be self-explanatory. We shouldn't
Yes.
have to go back. So because we're focused on snippets and FAQs, things that easily can be scraped by the LLM. Is that what you're referring to? Is basically scraping verbatim from the website? Like, hey, this is very topically relevant. Therefore, that's what the answer is going to be on the LLM. And I also have a follow up to that. So just don't let me
Yes.
forget.
So like I'll try to numb it down as much as possible, but I will also like go
Please.
very technical. So like
Yeah.
how RAG works, it's kind of like if you have your whole website, like and there's a lot of articles on your website, if I would use retrieval augmented generation database and I would scrape your website from the internet and I would turn it into retrieval augmented generation database, I would pull every single article and I would divide it divide it into logical pieces. Chunking is like a really, really difficult process, but they have to, for example, like take a table, take something that is logically a chunk. What they would do later on, they would turn this chunk into a vector of, let's say, 1000 dimensions. So like we know 3 dimensions, like up, down, back and forth. Like,
Mm,
so we have like these 3 dimensions, like there are thousands of dimensions that they can use. We don't have to understand what these dimensions mean. But like when you have a vector, we can compare a vector to a vector. So we can compare how far is like one vector from the other one. When we do it, we can
mm,
say, for example, we have an image of a dog, we have a word, which is dog, and we have like a whole sentence, breeds of dogs. We can see
mm,
that it's like, we can cluster this out. Like, so we have like an image, which is totally a different medium than a word,
mm,
and we can put them together to understand like, okay, this is a cluster. So whenever I'll be talking about a dog with LLM, and they would use my retrieval-augmented generation database, they will know, okay, I need to pull this data because this is the closest vector to what I have to understand exactly this is the context that I have to look at. When they use this context, they're able to answer. So they're not only answering from top of their head like you would do, like if I
mm.
asked you direct question, but they would like look it up in a dictionary, like check like the whole paragraph or like more than paragraph. And so like, okay, actually I just read like what I have. And based on that, this is my answer. So it's far better. It's a trick that they're using kind of to give far better results because they're not answering as a human from top of their head because we will make mistakes when we're answering from top of
Yes.
their head. And LLMs also would do that. They're answering based on knowledge that they retrieve. So retrieval augmented generation is retrieving data that is closest to the question. The question that I ask in
Mm.
LLM, we can turn it into a vector. We have the context, which is turned into a vector. We see if they're, how far is the question from the context.
That's super interesting. So I've been seeing some articles and research on Search Engine Journal about, I've seen it in Grok. I haven't seen it in Gemini yet, but they're talking about the synthesis of, particularly on social media, like the summarization of the entire string, or like, hey, there is a chat started and now they're going to summarize all the key points. Do you think we'll have the same happening to our websites? They're going to scan the whole site and they'll this probably opens it up to more hallucination, but it's going to go a little bit more. Hey, this is what I think of all the retrieval, all the vectors that I saw, and it's going to start filling in the white space. And I'm a little afraid citations start going down.
Okay, so like basically when it comes to summarizing, it's another trick that you can use in data science to fit into a context window. Every single LLM has a context window. Like right now, it's like, let's say 1 million tokens. 1 million tokens
Mm.
is about 700,000 words, give or take. So 2 longest Harry Potter books,
Wow.
really big
Okay.
ones. Like, but still, if you're thinking about like this context window, it's already too big to be able to parse it like in a way that is exact. So let's figure out like we have to fit in into, let's say, 70 pages. That's like a maximum of what the LMs right now can do, like in a quite good way. But one of the tricks that you can do is actually summarize it and then retrieve just the things that
After the chunking.
matter after
Yeah.
the chunking. So like you're even like getting like these chunks smaller just to summarize, like, and there's a couple of methods of doing that in data science. But to be honest, do I think do they only chunk it and then summarize it? I don't think so. They use it for specific methods that they're using for retrieving data, but they're doing a couple of other things because there's another problem that LLMs have is token usage, which is extremely, they need to lower it because like they spend too much money on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
From like the research that I saw somewhere is that they lower the number of tokens they use by just reading the initial part of the article to decide should they read the whole one. So kind of like similar like we humans do. If we go into an article, like we read the initial part of the
Yeah.
article, screen it through, or like just like the intro, and we decide, do we want to spend next 5 minutes reading it or not? And to be
Mm.
honest, you can see LLMs do a similar thing. And that makes sense from the perspective of token usage and not to use so many tokens because scraping data with LLMs, that's very costly.
Yeah, I can imagine. So is that why Google turned off 101 and above is because of this token issue and summarizing too many pages? It's just a money saving.
I think like what Google did is a move against LLM scraping data from Google.
Okay, got it.
Because like I was even talking about that like on one SEO podcast like 2 weeks back. That's probably what Google did. So like to explain to everybody, all the rank trackers, so SEMrush, Hrefs, data for SEO, Moz, what they were doing to track if you are on a position, certain position, they were using a parameter in the URL, which is called num equals 100. What that
Mm,
did, it showed for a specific keyword, not 10 first positions, but 100 first positions. So they can do like one API call to Google to retrieve first 100 positions instead of parsing like and going through every single page. So for the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, and so on. All of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, Google turned this parameter off and it blocked all the scrapers, all the rank trackers to be able to pull 100 first results at a one glance, which meant that
mm,
their servers started to melt down because they couldn't deliver the things that SEMrush wanted from like customers of SEMrush wanted, customers of data for SEO and so on. They all went down. There was a huge crisis. And what we can see, I said like 2 weeks ago, probably Google did it to defend scraping data from them by LLMs because we could see a huge overlap of
yes.
data in LLMs and in Google's results. And this way they blocked it. They actually increased the server usage to be able to scrape the data from Google. They can right now scrape the first page and they have to go page by page to actually scrape like further. And from the first results that we see, like it seems that it's true. Like all of a sudden, the results in LLMs started to get different than Google. Like in the last 2 weeks, there are
Mhm.
first results already seeing like they're starting to go different paths.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure Gemini still has access to it all if it's being trained by the SERP, but it's going to force ChatGPT to focus more on search in their product there, right? I mean, and so just on that point, do you think ChatGPT is going to be able to displace Gemini in that race?
Hard to
Hard to
say.
say.
Like this is a huge bet that they're like at the moment having between each other. I don't know. Like a lot of people love ChatGPT, even though that I don't think they're the best on the market. I've talked to a lot of people that only use ChatGPT,
Hmm.
and they feel like this is the tool that I need. Like to be honest, I prefer Perplexity when it comes to search. I prefer
Really?
Anthropic Sonnet, like especially they just released like an amazing model like 2 days ago, which is Sonnet
Hmm.
4.5. It's freaking awesome. Definitely far better than ChatGPT 5, which they
Hmm.
ChatGPT they hyped a lot, and then when I saw it, is like
Yeah.
was bad.
Yeah. Back to four, please.
Exactly. Like, and they actually got it back like in a few days because people complained there was like a huge mess. I think there was an AMA on Reddit where Sam Altman had to promise that they will bring it back in a few days. The whole move was probably because of cost savings. That's my opinion, like releasing ChatGPT 5. But like, there's multiple models on the market and they all work a little bit different. Like you have to find the one that you like or a couple of them that you like. I use most of them on daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think I forgot who it was, but it was internally done by OpenAI, but it was the average user base. And basically it went from, predominantly male to now 50-50 male, female. It was largely non-work related. It was, the highest use case was writing. So, but it seems like some of the more business use cases are using Claude or Sonnet, or they are using Gemini, for more of these, more intense searches. It seems like Grok seems to pick up the teenager boy market too.
It's hard to say, but like from the user's perspective, I think the chat form of LLMs is something that will pass. It will be there. I'm not saying like it will like be gone because like we will still want to talk to a friend
Right.
and we want to have friends and ChatGPT is like one of the best friends that you can have because
Yes.
it's always like happy to answer and
Yeah, it's just
it's like
always,
a
yeah, that's
dog.
a good idea, Nick. You should do that. Yeah.
But like from the business perspective, to be honest, I think we will move away from that. Like we will have systems that work on specific things because it gets very, very complicated to pull all this data that you need to resolve a certain problem, and you need the system to do that. It's not like a simple one call. It's like actually an agent that does multiple tasks, and LLM is just like 30% of the whole task. It's all about compiling things together, putting it together, and providing LLM the right context. So I
Yeah, that's
think
interesting.
chats will pass when it comes to business. It will be more of systems that you don't even know that you're using LLM. They will just like do the task.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think the other issue will be, or the other unknown will be, what browser or what user interface that we end up with. Because obviously ChatGPT, they're going to come out with their own browser experience. Perplexity obviously released Comet. I mean, Google's obviously, they disrupt the whole ecosystem when they change their browser up too much. But you can see Chrome having a very dominant position, and whether or not what search looks like for us as people, that purveyors of content trying to get our companies noticed, that will be an interesting one. Do you have a comment on what the UI will be in the, I don't know, maybe 2 years?
I think like in 90s, like so again, I'm a dinosaur. So like in 90s, like there were computers and everybody felt like, okay, it's actually hard to talk to them. You have to know how to code.
Yes,
There was a black screen, like, and there were some letters on this black screen. It looked really, really bad, like from the perspective. So you have to actually understand how to talk to a computer. And right now we're going back to what we had like 60 years ago, talking person
that's
to
true.
person, exactly telling it like, okay, I need this and this, and you're getting it back, which is much, much simpler. So I believe that we will go more into these discussions, how we talk to another person, human being, and this is how it will look like. So we can imagine like how we talk to different people. And I think this is how our experience of browsing will look like. So I still type. I feel
Yes.
extremely awkward when talking to my computer. I feel extremely awkward when I'm like trying to voice type. So I can't switch yet. But again, I'm like from a different generation, like Gen Z
No, I
definitely.
know, I feel it, especially if somebody's in the room, I am not talking to a robot. That is off the table. But I actually, I haven't done much with the voice, and ChatGPT, but the one in Gemini, I'm really impressed. Look, when I start talking to it, and the voice chat is going down the wrong path. No, 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 I mean this, and it's able to course correct almost immediately. That's interesting. Very, like you were saying, is very conversational where that's going to go. Hey, I wanted to shift gears a little bit. So there was an article in a search engine journal about AI search, and this particularly the AI overviews, that there is a 55% overlap with the SERPs in the YMYL space, your money,
Mhm,
your
mhm.
life. Do you have a comment on that? Are you surprised by that at all?
No, no, no. Actually, I'm not surprised. Like, especially with AI overviews, which are like owned by Google, so they're using their own data to train their own model. So there
Hmm.
has to be an overlap. And to be honest, like, if you read more articles, there was like even a similar overlap in ChatGPT, which should be using Microsoft, I think,
Yes, should be.
and so on. But like since the removal on this like num equals 100, you can
Hmm.
see the difference. I haven't seen yet any data on how AI overviews changed. I don't think they changed because they gave them a backstage access to the data
Hmm.
probably. But like there should be an overlap because this is their data. Like so they're showing in two tools, like in two different interfaces, kind of similar results, but like one AI overviews to give you one single result. And underneath, you will see results that you can choose from. Like if you're asking about this, you can choose like it's like going to the doctor, like and a surgeon, like I have this arm that like really hurts. Like, what should I do? Like if you go to the surgeon, they would say like cut. Like if you go to a
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
doctor,
Time to
there's
go to
like, no,
surgery.
no, no, like you just like take this like put something on it. And like it's similar with Google. And I think the AI overviews is kind of like a specialist that has to answer with the best answer, which is extremely difficult.
Mm,
And that's why it will make mistakes. It will tell you to eat more rocks at some point because minerals
yeah.
are in the rocks. But yeah, like,
Or worse. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so, the sycophancy problem and the hallucination is a real issue. Um, yeah, I mean, it was like, I know takes it to a dark place, but like, encouraging someone to commit suicide, that's bad. But then, like, there also was a data point on these, like these crisis hotlines, where actually ChatGPT has actually reduced the number of calls to these hotlines. So like, there's a trade off, that is. very disturbing, I guess, both ways.
But from the
With
technology
us being so
perspective,
the mass adoption.
yeah, but from the technology perspective, they're already working on that because they are using retrieval augmented generation. Like initially, when most hallucinations happened, they were using AI as a research engine. Like, and you shouldn't do it like fully. Right now, what ChatGPT does, like, first of all, they're trying to create a triage in the beginning to decide, like, do I need to research or not? Like,
Mm,
so if I'm researching, I'm pulling the data, I'm using retrieval augmented generation to pull the data to answer a specific question. And then, like, it makes a lot less mistakes because before it answers, it reads like specific data about this specific case, telling it like, okay, like if I'm asking it about the disease, like, so YM, YL, like it can be this, or this, like, but you can read the literature before you answer to decide like, okay, actually your symptoms are closer to this. Like, this is my
yeah.
goal, but I can tell also like this, and this. And then a good LLM will say like, but still go to the doctor. I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
Like, just remember that, like, you're not getting medical advice. You should go to the doctor.
Yeah. I know you jailbroke me and all these things, and you did a prompt injection, but I'm still not a like, can we get that in there? I'm still not a doctor, even though you tried to bypass all my securities. Okay, so I want to switch over to strategy, and particularly getting results within the LLM. So, are you a big proponent of breaking out these strategies? You have AEO, answer engine optimization.
Mhm,
You
yeah.
have GEO, generative engine optimization. So one's for getting within the snippets and the AI overviews, and one's for getting brand mentions generally as a citation within that. So, like, do you have specific strategies for those? Do you even believe in those terms? Is it all just search and content to you? Like, can you just give me your take on all that?
So I think like, but again, that's my own opinion, like subjective
Yes,
opinion, like,
please. Yeah.
and
You're not hallucinating though. Let's just
yeah.
make.
So like SEO for me is like the whole like term that is a big group. Within SEO, there is like a huge
Thank you.
overlap, like with geo, like extremely big overlap. There are some nuances that probably some small differences, but like really, I wouldn't have a totally different budget for that. I would say like
Mm,
work on that like together, because like if you work on one, like it will impact the other one. And when it comes to differences between AO and GO, I don't believe that there are any. Like I think it's potato
okay.
potato. Like, but again, this is my opinion. I wouldn't go into such a small differentiations. Like of course we can think about it, but is it worth to even think about it? I don't think so. Like I would treat it the same. Like,
I don't need to put a posting out for a geo strategist to enhance my SEO strategist.
so from the SEO perspective, I would do two landing pages, because like one person will write EO and the other person will write geo, and for them it's a different, like, so just speak the language of your customers. But from the perspective of customers, I don't know any significant differences, at least from my side. I haven't seen any data to say like, okay, this is different than this. Like, of course people are saying a lot of things on LinkedIn, especially like if we should differentiate.
Of rappers, yes, of AI rappers, yeah. So tell me, like you said, like between SEO and geo, there's a couple of differences in your mind. Is that giving away too much proprietary SEO wind,
No,
or
no,
like
no,
could you
no,
tell?
no,
Could
no,
you
no.
unpack that a little bit?
So like we already spoken about some of them. So we have to look at LLMs from the perspective how they're doing, what are their limitations, and the limitations of them are mainly connected to a couple of things. First of all, their scraping abilities is like Google 5 years
Mm,
ago.
got it.
Google was working on this technology for the last 20 years. They're really amazing.
Yeah.
And catching up to them will take a little bit of time. All the LLMs that have their own scrapers will get there, but it will take time. So we have to treat SEO like, in my opinion, like we did 5 years ago. Keyword stuffing definitely works better when it comes to LLMs. It works worse when it comes to SEO. Also, coming back to retrieval augmented generation. So when you're using retrieval augmented generation, you have to chunk up your article into pieces. Google is far better than to understanding the whole article, when LLMs, from what I understand and how I see it, and again, there is no proven data for that, they use retrieval augmented generation. So basically, they have to chunk up the article. Technically, this helps them to retrieve the data. So if they chunk it up, from our perspective as users and SEO experts, we have to also chunk up the articles to put like a specific thing into a chunk. So like we have a specific heading for this, and then we talk about this, then we have a table that like adds it all, and then we help LLMs to retrieve this data to enrich their answer. So this definitely
Mm,
helps. The another one that I said again, like before, there's some research already that they're looking at the beginning of the article just to decide, should I read it or not? This is saving of tokens. Like again, technical problem, how they're solving it, they're starting from the beginning. There's no proof for that, but it sounds logically enough to, I can believe in that. Still would love to test more. But these are the
that
main
is so
things
good.
that I would focus on. Keyword stuffing, as I said, like it's easier for LLM to understand if you will use it, but I wouldn't do it because it's not good for SEO. So you have to also
Yeah, I just
decide what you want to do.
yeah, that's it's insane to me that keyword stuffing is back and that listicles, which used to be downgraded somewhat in Google, in terms of your backlinks. Like a lot of these things that used to work in the, early 2000s are now back working again. And so you're starting to see them. You're starting to see listicles by like some of our competitors. They'll do like, oh, all of a sudden I'm number one on this list I made on my URL. Yeah, you're starting to see a lot of that
And
again.
one thing that works really well still, I think they will fix it, is parasite SEO. So basically using a
Yes.
bigger brand to influence LLMs. So my favorite example is what Mark Williams Cook did, and he wrote about it. He created a file called cats.txt, and he has a large audience. So he said, like, this is the new thing in SEO on LinkedIn. He wrote an article on LinkedIn, like this is how much it influenced. It says it also like tracked how many times LLMs pinged this cats.txt on the domain, how many times did it read, and so on. And he wrote a huge article how good of cats.txt it was. And a lot of audience, like including me, were just like adding comments just to prove that this is the thing. Like really, of
Yes.
course, we all knew that like we're just making fun of LLMs. And then all of a sudden it started to appear in LLMs as the new SEO technique to use inside LLMs, which was like extremely funny to look at. And this is exactly why you shouldn't trust LLMs as a research engine fully,
Yes.
because all of a sudden, as an SEO expert, you will start creating cats.txt file.
Oh my gosh. So I also want to get your comment on this term now that SEO people have is a AI slop, and I know this is something you're completely battling. So many people are writing with AI. That's totally fine. But how are people using it, incorrectly for writing, is particularly blogs and for SEO intent?
So they're writing poor, shallow content on different social media platforms or even your own blog. They're using simple prompts just to write something and they feel like, okay, all of a sudden I'm doing thought leadership content. You're not. You're just regurgitating like whatever LLMs have in their minds.
Hmm.
And it's normally very weak because people that do it, they do it very in a simple way. They don't tell their own insights, they don't gather additional data and so on. And LLMs have to guess what they wanted. And they're not that good
Mm,
at guessing like, precisely and writing something of value. So then they put something that is not valuable on LinkedIn and nothing happens. Or like they put it on the blog and nothing happens because Google and LinkedIn and different social media platforms and humans are really, really good with understanding what is valuable thing. So when it comes to content, for me, we have to look at EEAT. And a lot of experts say that like, okay, we have to do EAT. I went to multiple conferences where people were talking about EAT. We have to do it like from the stage saying like, oh, this is amazing. Like we focus on that. I was like the one raising my hand is like, okay, great. Like, so how do you measure that? And it's like, we don't. It's like, okay, so you're talking about EAT and you don't measure that. Like, so let me rephrase my question. You create a piece of content, then you update this piece of content for like making it more EAT. How do you know which one is better? Like, oh,
mm,
intuition is like, my intuition will not get you far because whatever you will update will be better than whatever you did. This is why you updated it. So your intuition just like tells you, I did work, so it's better. It doesn't
Mm,
work this way. So like we have to actually understand how good looks like. And this is a difficult question. Just write it down like this question. I need to create a definition of good. And this is
mm,
extremely, extremely difficult question for whatever you're doing to work with LLMs. You have to understand how good looks like. If it's a post, you have to write down like how will you measure that this is good? How will you know that this is good? If you're writing a piece of content, like you have to understand how will you measure that this is good? I asked this question to multiple agencies. Rarely somebody answered. So again, rephrasing the question, going to them asking like, can you send me over something that you feel that looks good?
mm.
And they were not sending me anything because they didn't feel that whatever they had was good.
That's super interesting. So SEO win, like this is the problem you're solving, and you've thought really deeply about how to use these tools to your advantage to solve this exact problem. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's AI content or human content; it just has to be good EEAT content, right? In your mind. And so, like, do you
Exactly.
mind, like, hey, well, we're kind of coming to a close here, but do you mind, like, talking through your solution and maybe how you help agencies, marketers, SEO people, content writers? Can you talk through that a little bit?
So from my perspective, to understand where we're heading, we have to define this how good looks like. So we tried
Yes,
to
I love
be
it.
able to measure EAT, and every single time that we're creating content, specifically articles or updating content, we measure like how did we do. What SEO Win does, we create articles, but we are using a huge workflow, AI workflow that gathers the data and compiles it all. Within the workflow, we have a couple of AI agents that are responsible for certain things. Let's start from the beginning. Why workflow? Workflow is predictable. So when we're working as
Mm,
humans, we have SOPs. We know exactly if we do this, then we do that, and we do this, and we do that. Like we have a process that we're following to make it as good as possible. Whenever we have an SOP, we follow the SOP because that brings the best results. We can make the SOP better by iteration, but we will follow a certain process. The same goes with AI. If we go with AI agents, which are all over LinkedIn, they're unpredictable. So if
mm,
I go to an expert and I give him certain amount of data, I want the expert to come back to me most of the time in predictable way with a similar answer because there should be 8 out of 10 the same answer based on the same data. If you go to
mm,
LLM and if you ask the same question 10 times, it's all over the place. So that's
mm.
why we're using a workflow. But in the workflow, when we're creating a brief, we go to SERP results. We scrape the data from the competitors to understand exactly the niche. What's the search intent? We ask ourselves questions. What kind of additional data do we need to make the article better? So what kind of research, what kind of statistics, thought leadership insights, whatever do we need? We also ask, we have an agent that decides like, okay, based on this brief, we need to pull this data, this data, this data, and this data. It retrieves the data because it has a hypothesis what it needs, but it doesn't know
Mm,
exactly what it will get. And then it evaluates, okay, I got this, which makes a lot of sense for my heading number one, but I got this, which is mediocre. Let's pivot from that. I got this, which makes no sense from my perspective. So like I need to pull something else. And like this is the research agent. And the agent, this is actually an agent because we don't know exactly what we want. We can't say for each article, I need 3 statistics. I don't know if it's like about gardening or like medical or
yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, do I need statistics? I don't know. So the agent decides like a human would do, I need this. And it goes back to the workflow. So it says like, okay, now I have the data. I pulled the data from our own website because we treat our own website as a special matter expert. We have additional instructions from the user about this specific article. We know exactly what to do. So it writes the article. Then it goes into another agent that decides like, okay, we're a proofreader agent looking at this article on the stage of the brief. We thought that this and this will look good. But when we have a draft, we see like, no, actually, this looks good, but this is bad, and this is how we should fix it. We still need like a case study here because that makes more sense to put like more value on that. And it iterates on that. Then it goes like through humanization. Then it goes to additional internal linking inside the website
Yes,
and
I
so
love
on
it.
and so forth. Like, so there's multiple steps. Probably the article is rewritten like 5, 6 times based on certain things. And there's like a lot of quality gates in between saying like, you're not there yet, like iterate, like inside. So from my perspective, you can use LLMs, vanilla LLMs, to do the same, but it would take me probably a day and a big headache to go through
Sure.
the same process. So what I would do, I would cut on quality as a human. So this is
Uh,
what we automate. We help you to do the process that brings you the quality at the end. And in the last few months, like we started to also work with agencies to help them out to create content as kind of like a similar way like you do with contractors. So we try to give them exactly what they want. So white label content, and we do the whole hustle on our side.
Yeah, this is I mean, I've seen your output. It's pretty amazing. The fact that you even codified what a good editor would do in terms of, and multiple people too, a researcher, editor, writer. You probably have a chunking agent in there as well to make sure it is legible for the AI as well. I think that's really interesting. So people need to check you out. How can they get a hold of you?
Definitely, I live on LinkedIn. So if you want to talk to me, I'm like always happy to help, and find me Tom Winter on LinkedIn. If you want to try SEO in, just go into website and register there. Have fun, enjoy, compare it to somebody else, like some other tools that you're doing. I'm always happy to hear about my own tool, really in an objective way, because I'm too close to the elephant to see the whole picture. Like I took my ego aside a while back. I like to hear what people think.
That's what a good product person does. They get the feedback and make it a better experience.
It's
That's great.
hard, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
this is what I try today.
Tom, this was fun. You want to do it again sometime?
For sure, for sure. Like,
Aw
so it was
awesome.
really, really amazing. Amazing energy here.
Yeah, I love it. So, hey, thank you for your time, and we'll check you out next time. All right.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thank you, brother.